4, 3, 2, 1. Go.
Welcome to another episode of NomadLand. Such a beautiful day in Los Angeles, Sunday. We have a special guest today. I just want to thank you for tuning in once again and joining us on our journey to self-understanding, self-realization, and all that beautiful stuff. Once again, and as always, I have my bigger brother, the producer, Navid, on the show. We have Irfan,
How you doing?
the legendary rapper.
Clear your throat a little bit.
The legendary rapper. And we have a special guest. I'll let her introduce herself. But before that, Irf.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. We do have a special guest. Very excited about this one. We're going to learn a lot about diet. And I have a lot of questions. A lot of the fans have actually sent in questions. So excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Sure. My name is Dr. Angie Sadeghi. I'm a gastroenterologist in Newport Beach, California. I was born in Iran, raised in California. And I basically went through the whole medical school, residency, fellowship, double boarded in internal medicine and GI, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, my mission now is to help people achieve their best, healthiest version.
That's amazing. Maybe
you.
I can take a lot away from that today. Let's see if I stick to it. So how did you, give us some background on that? How did you fall into this?
Yeah, sure. So 15 years ago, I was basically sitting down at USC where I was doing my residency, just having lunch with one of my friends named Sarah. And I looked at her plate and she had colors of the rainbow, like plants on her food, on her plate. I had a piece of dead animal, piece of cow meat on my plate. And I was raised eating meat and dairy, and I didn't think anything of it. But I have always been such an animal lover. I love animals to death. Like I would do anything to save an animal. So, and that comes from my father being such a good-hearted person. And I looked at her plate and I'm like, Sarah, what the heck are you eating? Like, where's your meat? She said, I don't eat meat. And I go, huh? Okay. And the Persian sarcasm was going to come out. I was going to make fun of her for sure. And I'm like, well, why not? And she's like, well, I love animals and I can't eat them. And I thought, oh, what? And like a billion thoughts flashed through my mind. And I'm like, I love animals. Wait a minute. I'm paying for other people to kill animals for me. And I'm attributing
that piece of meat didn't look the same on the plate after that.
Very well said. That was the last time I ate a piece of animal flesh. That was it.
That's it. Wow.
But fast forward.
That was 15 years ago?
Exactly. That was 15 years ago. 4 years ago, I was at a seminar, at a motivational seminar. And I was listening to the person who was conducting the seminar, which is actually my brother, Titanium Success. And he was talking about how dairy is just sugar, water, and fat. And it belongs to baby calves, not humans. And I thought, that's really interesting. That's right. And 4 years ago, I set my mind to becoming the healthiest version of myself. I was learning self-love, which I know you would agree that's the best thing you can do. I was learning self-love, improving my confidence, and helping others. But before you can give, you have to love yourself first. And I was learning all of that. And at the end of the seminar, I decided that day that I was going to get ripped, shredded. I was like, I don't want to look like a doctor anymore. I'm going to be that fit doctor. I'm going to be fit vegan doctor. That's going to be my branding from that moment on.
Something just clicked immediately.
Oh yeah, for sure. I made that decision that day.
And if you could say in sentence what that is, what was it exactly?
The decision or?
The decision.
I made a decision that day I was going to be a fit doctor who looks amazing. And because it doesn't make sense to lead others and be unhealthy yourself and preach to people they should be healthy, they should look good, they should lose weight to reverse disease, and walk around overweight and miserable and unhappy and overweight, like I said, with disease, right?
It kind of goes back to all my doctor friends, they smoke cigarettes.
So it just doesn't make sense. In order
and that's their healthiest habit.
Can you imagine that? Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, so then something created a shift at that point.
Something created a shift, and I made a decision. And as you know, in order to make any changes in your life, you have to have a decision. And I made my decision at that moment. That evening, the universe brought me the right people in my journey. I was talking to my cousin Massa. She's a musician in was at the time in Hollywood. And I said, Massa, you'd be proud of me. You know, she's been a vegan for a long time. And I said, you'd be proud of me. I haven't had meat for 15 years and I'm thinking about going vegan. And she said, well, I have news for you. If you're doing it for moral reasons, I want to tell you the dairy industry is far worse and cruel to the animals than the meat industry. And of course, you know the health risks of it. I'm like, not really, because as doctors, we don't learn about nutrition.
Yeah.
And she said, go watch this documentary called Forks Over Knives on Netflix. I'm a good student, so I did. And that forever changed my life. That moment on 4 years ago.
Wow.
That's amazing. Because, I mean, you already, obviously, you have a strong will, too. Because
Yeah.
people make decisions, like, you know, many times in a year, and they don't stick to it. So you have some kind of discipline that, you know, 15 years ago you became vegetarian. You stuck to it. Overnight, you became a vegan, you know.
Yes.
So you probably had that in you from before.
For sure. But, you know, I think it all comes down to, see, I love psychology, right? That's why I love talking to Yahya right now. He's like very interesting. You understand how it is when you, so I teach my patients, you don't need to have willpower. Willpower is irrelevant. Just have a very strong, compelling vision as to why you want to do something. You know, my compelling vision was twofold. First, I was gonna be a fit doctor, walk around with a six-pack or really good abs. And when I was down at the beach with my son, holding his hand, walking on the beach, I wanted every mom to be like, wow, I want to do that. She's motivating me because it's possible.
You can have children and have a beautiful
yes,
figure.
and still look beautiful. You don't have to look overweight. The other thing is I wanted to save the animals, and we do more for others than we do for ourselves. And that compelling vision of saving the animals and bringing awareness about the meat and dairy industry put me in a position where I wanted to do such bigger and better things in life that it even was beyond me. And I felt like at that point the universe was like, I felt like I was put on this earth to do this.
And you said it beautifully. It's not about willpower, because willpower is not even sustainable.
Right.
You know, it's not a real thing in terms of you getting to where you need to go.
Right.
It's that compelling vision that you mentioned, to be able to kind of like create a vision board and see exactly and clearly what is it that you want. You'll naturally just go there.
Yes.
Yeah, because everybody, I mean, including me, like, let's say I'm not the best at sticking with diet. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But there are things that I do, you know, because like I'm compelled to do it. Like, you know, I believe in it. I'm passionate about it.
How many hours a day do you
done.
work in the studio?
That's exactly.
Because of that
doing
vision.
music every night for hours, you know. But with the gym, sometimes I fall off it. Some, you know. So yeah.
Right.
But now let's talk about this. I mean, you pointed briefly on it. Why is it that doctors know so little about nutrition and diet? It's fascinating to me. I mean, shouldn't that be?
They don't focus much on it in school, right? In the diet side of things, they don't.
Well, it's about sick care. It's not about health care. We are trained to treat disease, and we do a very good job of it. You know, you come to me and something's broken, I can help you fix it. But we're not trained to prevent disease. So there's a huge gap, and that has never been addressed. So most people don't go seek dietitians' help before they get ill. They wait till they go to their checkups and the doctor's like, oops, you have diabetes. And then they go to the dietitian. I think what helps is if doctors become more proactive in preventing disease. And by that, I mean they have to educate themselves with nutrition and teach patients how to prevent disease before things start breaking down. Because you don't want to wait till you're on 50 medicines to try to fix things.
So most of them would say to that I barely have time to do anything right now. And I've spent my 15 years of my life learning about this. I just can't. It's too late for me. They have that. If they don't even say it, I've noticed that's their energy.
Absolutely.
So what is it? Like, why do they not have time, or do they not care, or what's going on?
No, I think they care.
You're
It's
killing
just-
your patients with the medicine.
Right. And then, you know, at that point, there's no choice. Like if you have a broken arm, I have to cast it. So, you know, and think about heart disease. Once you have heart disease, I have to put you on a statin called Lipitor because that's all we know at this point. But Hippocrates said 2,000 years ago, let food be the medicine. And to this day, it's like people don't understand that. And that's where we should focus. We should focus on preventing disease and using food as medicine. And eventually, even if we ate well, there will be a need for doctors because, you know, it could be instead of having problems at age 50, you'll have it at 80. Eventually, there's always need for sick care. But we need to shift our focus as we live longer and longer. Like, I'd say, I mean, you guys are very young, half my age almost, but imagine, you know, 100 years ago, the life expectancy was 40 years old. So you wouldn't even be having this conversation with me. I would have been dead.
Yeah.
So, but as we live longer, we need to be more proactive as prevent. And you know, you're a psychology major, and you understand how it's important for even for well-being, as far as your thoughts and your psychology. When you eat healthy, they show that serotonin, which is a very important feel-good hormone, 90% of it is produced by the gut.
Right.
So I mean, how could you?
That's one of the things I tell my patients. I mean, before I even want to know about their childhood, I want to know what's going on inside their stomach.
That's
you
right.
know, take some of that probiotics.
I love you.
Kimchi all day.
I love you too. Yeah, take some of that pickled stuff. A lot of times, because it kind of stabilizes the mood. It really does.
Yes. But now remember, though, you guys, if you have, if you're feeding the fire with fuel, you can't sprinkle water on it to put it out. You've got to. You got to stop where it's being fed.
That's right.
So if you're feeding the bad gut microbiome, so let me just
talking about fibers right now.
That's right. So let's just think of the gut microbiome as 36 trillion gut microbiome organisms living in your gut, and about, like, imagine there's like a half of them are the good guys, which contribute to health, produce serotonin and all that help the production of good feeling hormones.
That's right.
The other half are the inflammatory ones that cause inflammation, right? What do the bad guys want to eat? Meat, dairy, and eggs, of course, right? What do the good guys want to eat? They want to eat fiber-rich foods, plants, you know, basically fruits, vegetables, grains, nuts, seeds, and basically things that have a lot of fiber. So again, you know, it's all, you know, about the gut microbiome, and that's where the health starts.
So I have a question about that. I travel a lot, pretty much once a month, sometimes more, and oftentimes it's overseas. So my time shifts, I go through the jet lag and back and forth, and I don't sleep much. So like this year, I mean, I got sick like multiple times. I had to take antibiotics 3 times this year, which is, like, I know it's a lot. You know, you're not supposed to take it that much. So that has probably affected, you know, the bacteria in my gut. And so, I mean, I take I have kefir, and I ate kimchi, and, you know, I don't take probiotic pills. But over time, how long would it take for something like that to get replenished?
Great question. So no one really knows the exact answer to that. However, when you are taking I don't recommend taking probiotics every day. You should take prebiotics, which is vegetables with fiber. Fiber is like a prebiotic. So if you take antibiotics, however, it's better to just take the probiotics to augment the experience a little bit, to help the gut
at the same
a
time,
bit.
But not at the exact same time, right? I think maybe a few hours after.
Exactly, in between the doses. And we don't even know if that helps, but it's the best we know. So it's better to just take it, like, you know, if your augmentin is due in the morning and at night, to take the probiotic in the middle of the day, something like that. But if you have a robust gut microbiome to begin with before you start antibiotics, then you have a better chance than somebody who has a poor gut microbiome balance. Yeah,
I had someone that I knew that she had taken a lot of antibiotics in a period of, like, you know, a couple of years, and she had a horrible diet in the sense of, like, she was a vegetarian, but she didn't really eat vegetables, so just like rice and like pasta and pizza, cheese pizza, that kind of stuff. So basically no probiotics, and so she got really sick because of that. Yes. She got really sick, and it took maybe 6 months, 7 months. She had the what is it, forgot the bacteria. C. diff colitis. Exactly. Yeah. So
which is actually a deadly infection. Most people don't understand how deadly that thing is. Yeah. And by the way, do you guys want to know something funny? You know what the treatment is for C. diff colitis? This is gonna be, it's hilarious.
Can we guess?
I probably know, but I forgot. But
can I just
make a guess though?
Pumpkins. No, I'm
what is it?
So actually, it's vegan poop.
What?
Seriously, I'm not kidding. In Boston, there is a place where they package up, like, into pill form, vegan donors' poop, who are super healthy. Like, they have to be fit, they have to be young and healthy and all that stuff. And they take their poop. And it's really hard to be a poop donor. Excuse me, I should say stool. Is this like a PG-13? Can we say
no, that's fine.
You can say whatever you want.
Okay, got it.
It's fine. It goes well with the afternoon tea, right?
Like, that's right. That's right. With your English breakfast or Earl Grey, for sure. Yeah, but you just basically, besides antibiotic, of course, the best treatment is actually stool transplant.
Vegan poop. Nice.
Back then, before they had the stool bank, what we used to do is we used to ask a family member to donate their stool, and we used to like smash it up, add water to it, and liquefy it, and do a colonoscopy and spray it around people's colon.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sprinkler going on in there.
Yes,
That's crazy.
Exactly. But now
It's
they
got a
have
bad
it
mental
filled
image.
and they have like, you know, and it's hard to find vegan members of family members who are vegan to donate poop. So yeah.
So what? Are you okay with this topic?
Yeah.
So what is it that some people do turn into plant-based diets, and all of a sudden they experience a lot of inflammation and they bloat, and they're like, we tried, it didn't work. What I want to know, and this is what's deep down inside my thoughts, is it possible that maybe because it worked for you, you believe that it should work for everybody? Because
I
it
love
feels
that question. Thank you for asking
I had the same
that.
question.
Yeah,
you know,
that was a very deep question, and it was multi-level. So I'm going to break it down because I think
Okay.
you asked me about 2 to 3 questions.
yeah.
First of all, why is it that when first patients go on a plant-based diet, they get bloating and inflammation? Good question. This happens almost every time. So imagine you're eating meat and dairy all the time, and you don't have the correct or the efficiency of the gut microbiome balance in there. So when you eat fiber, your body doesn't know how to digest it. It doesn't know how to break it down. So you get a lot of bloating.
Yeah,
The
especially
point-
quinoa and stuff like that. When I used to, I
Right.
went through that because
How
know,
about beans?
severe fibrous. Beans not so much because I've ate it through my life, but quinoa was something new. You know?
Right,
So
right.
yeah. But
So-
after a few weeks, I keep getting used to it more and
You
more.
are
and more, less and
absolutely
less, yeah.
correct. The point is not to give up. Slowly increase the fiber in your diet. And so if you're like eating steak and ribs and McDonald's all day,
Bacon.
exactly. Instead, like of going overnight, going vegan, and I know how hard it is to eat animals sometimes because sometimes people do it for moral reasons.
Yeah.
I would recommend that slowly cut out the meat. Don't do what I did. I went overnight.
So you're saying a lot of that is because they just jump into it without any
Yes.
gradual transition?
That's exactly right. Gradual transition is the key.
Ah.
And then your other really good, amazing question was, the second part was, well, just because it works for you, should everybody else do it?
Because it feels like all the experts are doing that, especially when it comes to diet.
Right.
And it just feels a little too extreme every time someone does that.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you see there are certain diets that do save some other people, such as the carnivore diet, that's helping some people for whatever reason. Maybe it's temporary, but what is that? Why is it that some diets work so well with others and some don't work well for other people?
Okay, that's another amazing question. Very good question.
Thank you.
So we know, it's basically, you guys, when it comes to medicine, my opinion is cheap. My opinion doesn't matter. Dr. X's opinion is cheap. Opinion is cheap. You have to reside to evidence-based medicine and evidence-based practice, and you have to read studies and interpret nutritional studies. When you look at the studies, it's very clear. If you read the book, The China Study, that was the largest nutritional study done. If you look at the EPIC study, if you look at the Women's Health Initiative study, they all basically show that the more fiber you're eating in your diet, the healthier you are. And high cholesterol foods are definitely associated with heart disease. In places in old China where people never ate meat and dairy, they didn't know what heart disease is, you know. And so basically, when you do the studies,
Is
it's
that a
very
fact?
clear.
But
It's a fact.
but for
Yeah.
the China study, that book, for example, I know that some of the studies that they did, it was kind of they handpicked, and there was other studies of people who did have a plant-based diet, and they didn't mention them in the book and some stuff like that because the book had a kind of an agenda, it was kind of biased. But I mean,
not really, because
yeah.
the guy who actually wrote the book is not 100% vegan, so there was not an agenda at all. And we know that this is fact again.
Sure.
The only diet that can reverse coronary artery disease, which is the clogging in the arteries,
Sure.
is a whole food plant-based diet. This is fact. You know, we know that you can reverse diabetes and high cholesterol with a whole food plant-based diet. These are all fact, you guys. Now, another good question you had, but some other people do very well with other diets. Very true, but they cannot do as well as the whole food plant-based diet. Is it extreme? Well, one might say that, but in my opinion, extreme is if you rip out somebody's veins out of their legs and crack their chest open and put it in their heart because they have coronary disease. To me, that's more extreme than eating a whole food plant-based diet.
Sure.
And you know, as humans, we're very self-centered, aren't we? The ego thing, the whole sort of self-centered thing. We think that we got plopped on this Earth and everything revolves around us. That is not true. We are part of an ecosystem. You know, the other species are not for us to kill and to eat. This whole environmental damage that we're causing on a daily basis because of the dairy and farming industry is atrocious. Sorry. We cannot continue this practice. Otherwise, you won't have your children and grandchildren in a environmentally safe and sound place. The earth is going to die. We can't continue this practice. The farming industry is killing our environment.
But I mean, just to continue, because that was my question too, that I had about the different people affecting them differently. There's actually a large number of people now, from Dr. Jordan Peterson, there's Dr. Sean Baker, Jordan Peterson's daughter, and there's a lot of other people that aren't. I'm just naming the famous people. They're on the carnivore diet, and they really only eat meat, and most of them only eat beef, or maybe some bacon and stuff like that on the side. And they've had tremendous health benefits, you know, and they have autoimmune diseases that went away. They look better, they've lost weight, their skin looks better, all these things that also a lot of people associate with a plant-based diet. So it just makes me wonder, I mean, I don't know about it, obviously you're the expert, but maybe people's bodies respond, I mean, maybe through evolution or whatever, that people's bodies respond to different diets differently, you know, so maybe
I mean, I guess that's such a good point, because I get that question a lot, like such and such person did this, you know. I know a homeless guy who hit the jackpot too and won the lottery. Should we all go homeless and buy the lottery? Because there's always hope for that, right? But it's not really efficient to think that way. Because when it comes to medicine, you have to look at studies. My opinion is cheap. Dr. Sean, whoever, blah, blah, blah. I don't know who he is, but his opinion is cheap. And I'm not being mean to him. I'm just saying.
No, he's a medical doctor.
Kinda mean, though. A little mean.
It's a little mean to people who are
I mean, he's
Use
a medical.
some cuss words, doctor.
He's a medical doctor, and he does blood work on himself, and they do it on, you know, again, I don't want to quote anything that I don't know 100%, right? But because I do forget a lot of details. But basically, they did, and his blood works fine, and again, he doesn't recommend it for everybody to do that necessarily, but there's a large group of people who are doing the carnivore diet right now, and they're seeing health benefits.
And so, by the way, I mean, number one killer in America is heart disease. And
but isn't that like more sugar and, you know, than saturated fat?
No, fat. The amount of fat people have consumed is going up. If you look at the studies in detail, sugar, refined sugar, and fat has been basically the mainstay of the diet. Now, sometimes when you go on these unhealthy diets, like the ketogenic diet and the what is that other one called, the paleo diet, you can lose weight, and in the first, like, I don't know, 3 months, just by the mere weight loss, you get a little bit of benefits. But it's basically down the line, it's very unhealthy, because all you're consuming is saturated fat, which is not good for the gut microbiome. It acidifies the gut. Meat and dairy acidifies the gut microbiome, and it literally produces a whole bunch of acid production in your gut, and basically causes what we call dysbiosis, which is an imbalance of the gut. So anyhow, you know, having said all of that, you know, it's basically again, it's all about evidence-based medicine. You have to go by, so if say such as X, Y, and Z people are eating zero fiber in their diet, it's not for everyone. They're just doing it on their own. It's at their own risk. They're making a mistake, and that may not come very obvious in the short term, but come 30 years when they die of colon cancer, you know, their followers are like, oh shoot.
No, I'm not a proponent of carnivore.
But
I was comparing the two diets, and again, like the same thing about the fat. I mean, there's a lot of I watch a lot of stuff on this subject, and a lot of more recent studies have shown that obviously refined sugars is horrible, it's really bad, but the stuff that they've been saying about fat, animal fat, for the past, you know, the studies that happened in the 60s were kind of the studies were paid by the sugar industry just to make, you know, fat the enemy, and, you know, so they say like animal fat's not that bad for you. I mean, I don't know. It's just like a lot of different studies coming out now. Very confusing to the average person.
Yeah, absolutely. The egg industry literally cheated, and they went and took the people who had high cholesterol, and they give them egg, and they go, see, it doesn't raise your cholesterol. It was funded by the egg industry people. It was like it was an uninterpretable study, and now the whole thing, it came on Time magazine that cholesterol is not the enemy, and that's where all of the things that you're talking about, all of the rumors began back then. And so now the Dr. Williams, who's my idol, he was the president of the American Heart Association, he's been trying to work really hard on because that article came during his time, so
Sure.
I feel like he feels like it's his mission
Like
to
part of
now
responsibility.
return that somehow. But you know, I mean, I'm not defending refined sugar.
No, I know.
No, I mean, if
no,
you
said
wanna-
it's bad.
exactly.
No, I'm just like, I was
Yeah.
just kind of defending
But
fat.
you know, just because refined sugar, just because cholesterol is bad, it doesn't mean refined sugar. So I think most people need to stop eating candy. They need to stop consuming cholesterol, saturated fat, processed food.
So, so correct me if I'm wrong. What you're saying is a lot of these diets that seemingly work in the beginning or the first few years, you're going to pay the price for it later.
Well, you know, exactly. Like, here's the thing. The
So that's
keto
what
diet,
you're saying.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like, let's just say the keto diet. We don't have long-term studies on that. In the first 3 months they conducted the study, people reversed their hemoglobin A1C, which is a marker of diabetes, by 1%. Big deal.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I stopped, because
Yeah.
there was no long-term
That's
studies.
right. There's no long.
When people ask me, is it working? I'm like, I'm the long-term study.
Seriously. Yeah. I did it for a few months. I saw my pictures from last year. I lost that much freaking weight.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
But it's interesting though. It's like almost like the spiritual community's answer to that wouldn't be like you're gonna pay for it later, but it's like you're eating blood, and that's like making contract with the devil, and then you're gonna pay for it. You may get results in the beginning and
karma?
look healthy. I'm kidding. I just had an awkward silence for no reason. Yeah, I was gonna be like, what is that? Yeah, of course.
Okay, so tell me, what do you think? How do you think? How does it make you feel? You're an intelligent guy, very open-minded, right?
Sexy
you
too,
understand. So what do you think? Have you ever watched these videos of how these animals are being treated?
Yes.
Do you think that there is any, because the Indian people, the spiritual people, believe that there's karma and involved, and if you pay for that, that'll come back to you. Do you believe that?
Well, everything we do, there's a counterbalance for it. So absolutely.
So if you know what's going on and you pay towards it, if you don't know, that's fine. I mean, for 15 years I was in the dark. I didn't know. No one had brought it up to me. But once I found out, will I go pay someone no, let me ask you another question. If I gave you a knife, would you slit the throat of a cow and eat it?
No, I wouldn't. Okay, I think about that all the time.
Right. Why would you pay for that? Did you know that throat slitting is the #1 way of killing animals to this day?
What do you think about, what if it's like health? I mean, obviously you can't defend the animal farming, but what about healthy hunting? And a lot of times that needs to be done. But if
as
someone
much
hunts
as
food?
I would never pull the trigger on kill an animal, and I don't think it's healthy to eat animals, I have more respect for hunters who are not wasting the food than people who pay into the dairy and the meat industry. Because that is atrocious. These animals cry. They're sentient beings. We're treating like they have no feelings. They, like the dairy industry, what they do, they rape the animals to impregnate them. Once they give birth, they rip the baby out of the mother's space, and they shoot them. Or they grow veal, which means they put them in a confined area where they can't move their entire life. How could anybody who knows that information still contribute to
Which,
this?
by the way, their body stores that trauma and then ends up going into ours. So even like
Absolutely.
science, like it produces a chemical right before death, I think, correct?
Absolutely, yes. Which in Korea,
but I try not to play God when it comes to that type of question. Like I know what my values are and what my principles are, and I would stand up for it. But I try to stay away from what's right for people. Right. Because I can also hear the argument where somebody says that, you know, what went to making that tofu for you? Do you know how many frogs, snakes, ducks, I don't know, birds got killed, and whatever was left, they got poisoned just for you to have that tofu so you won't feel bad about it. This is not my quote, by the way. This is what I've heard from somebody. So I'm open to understanding that too. Yeah, you got to clear out a field to make to put the beans and create the beans and all that. So that's cruelty too. So you may kill. No. We're not talking about by accident.
Yeah, like killing animals to make food.
So we're not talking by accident. We're talking about it's a conscious decision to create this field, to be able to kill all the animals out of this field, to create tofu, so the person that eats it doesn't feel bad. I have no judgment towards that either.
Yeah.
So why am I supposed to be judging?
Joe Rogan, some kind of a podcast that came out and they were talking about that. The guy who his argument was bullshit.
But let's not talk about the guy. Let's talk about the topic.
He was acting like he's a farmer. He's not even a farmer. He's like the biggest killer. He kills everything that moves. The guy is ruthless. He's an animal. Why am I disrespecting animals? Excuse me. He's a horrible human being. And the thing is that what they didn't indicate, excuse my language, he's an idiot. Here's the thing. Most of the soy produced in this country is fed to the animals.
Yep.
Yeah,
not
that's true
to
too.
human. We don't even we eat like 5% of the soy. That's like vegans eat 5% of the soy that's produced. So if you're worried about killing animals because of soy, believe me, then stop making soy at such scales.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. I want us to take the person out of the conversation and stick to the philosophy of what we're coming from. You know, because it's easy to do that, because the moment we put a character next to a belief, then all of a sudden it's easy to target the character. Let's talk about that, though. I mean, isn't there something to be said about, you know, creating vegan friendly foods that could also be harmful? Is there or not? I don't know.
I mean, I don't understand how that could be, because I mean, if you're making organic soy and you're not putting pesticide on it, and you're not killing anything on purpose, and feeding it for the purpose of feeding human beings, there's nothing wrong with that, right? I believe in eating organic food. It wasn't like pesticides are not just, you know, yeah, they kill things, but they also kill you and give you cancer. So I believe in eating organic, non-GMO soy, and I think the production of, again, the soy production is really not even, most of it is not for humans. So if there is such thing as killing animals on the field, it's, if you stop that, then that would be great, because we shouldn't be producing all this soy and giving it to the animals that we're going to eat. It's very inefficient. It's not sustainable for planet Earth to eat that kind that way.
But the thing is, it's not even just soy, just any kind of vegetable. It has vermin, you know, and they come, you know, animals come to eat them, and the farmers kill them. And obviously it's a numbers thing, you know, because you gotta take like between the bad and worst. You could take that logic, but you know, a lot of animals do get killed. For that.
This is why I bring up this topic, because to me, this is no different than the Republican Democrat conversations. When then two people get into groups, they start hating each other, and therefore there's no progress. But if we can get to see, okay, there's a point into your conversation, and there's a point, and I see your point, then people are going to come closer. So I'm just trying to identify that rather than saying who's right or wrong.
You want to know what's funny? I have a lot of fruit trees and like vegetation in my backyard, and the proudest moment in my life is when I watch the animals
come eat them.
I watch the birds come eat the fruit, because we're occupying their land. This is not my backyard, this is their land we've occupied. It makes me feel so good. I feel like I'm giving back to Mother Nature and to the earth when I feed the animals, and it just feels good, guys. Like, try feeding animals, try thanking them. If you kill, we're the most useless species on the planet Earth. If you kill off all like the bees, the earth will perish. If you kill off every single human being off this earth, the earth will be greener and a better place to live.
Do you condone that? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Not as a doctor, right?
But I mean, since you brought it, I actually want to talk about the Ted Nugent thing, because actually it was one of the it's a very interesting episode. I watched that Joe Rogan with Ted Nugent. You know, he's a singer and he's an avid hunter
and a piece of shit.
Well,
I agree.
I don't agree. I mean, everybody's.
He probably doesn't like you because you're Iranian. You're Iranian.
Exactly.
Be careful who you defend.
I mean, I gotta be careful who I label too. I don't want to just call somebody racist. You know, I don't know their background.
Hey man, it's about love.
But I mean, like something like he was telling about hunting pigs from airplanes with M16s and not airplanes, I'm sorry, helicopters in Texas. And the image I got is that, because he said when he hunts a lot, okay, he hunts a lot, and he said, like, for example, when he hunts a deer, definitely takes less than 5 seconds for the animal to die compared to a lifetime of suffering that in animal farming happens, and all the things that we just talked about. I'm not gonna repeat. But like the pig thing, these are wild pigs that were released, I think, in the 1700s, if I'm not mistaken, and they would just eat everything, and they kind of have to manage the populations, and the only way to do it is actually they have to do it for the M16s from the helicopter. It sounds freaking horrible, and it's really I just got the image in my head and I hurt inside, but I do kind of understand the logic of they having to control animals and sometimes having to kill mountain lions and wolves and bears and to protect other animals, and so there's something behind that. So my personal opinion, I'm not against healthy hunting if someone wants to do that, but anyways.
Nav, I know this is a passionate thing for you. Just feel free to chime in.
I will jump in soon.
What is your psychological analysis of someone who feels good when they shoot and kill the animal like that Ted Nugent guy? What do you think goes through his head? Why does he do you think he gets a rush when he kills something?
Because there's a person involved, I don't want to be in a position of being the judge and the juror. I don't like doing that. It's just I don't feel comfortable speaking on that, especially in front of the world, because we're talking about another human being, and who am I to say something about that person? If you would have, I don't know, prefaced it in a way where, what do you think about people like that, I would have maybe talked more openly. I just don't like targeting people.
Sure.
Can we talk about people that are like that?
People who do that.
Yeah, but we're talking about somebody else. So
I'll jump in there, because until even just a couple of weeks ago, I was extremely against people. I was like, how the fuck do people go and kill another animal and pull the trigger? I mean, I kind of understood. I thought it's always better to hunt than to get animal farming and the animals suffer so much.
Yes.
But believe it or not, actually, after watching the Ted Nugent episode, he made a lot of points that I kind of understand. And just through Joe Rogan and what he says, I kind of understand it a bit. And I don't think it's necessarily always
on point.
Yeah, it's not always like inhumane or, to kill an animal. A lot of times it's necessary, and people have been doing it for food for a long time. And I think there's something to the person who trains so much. It's not difficult. It's very difficult, hunting. Someone that could, become that good and then be able to provide, especially when you go to times where smaller tribes and providing for your family, and that's how it's the only way to be done. And like that's focus and the time that it takes to do that is a very, very difficult thing to do.
I respect that.
Yeah.
But I'll take away your gun and I'll put you in the wild. If you can go chase the animal, catch them, it's fair is fair, right? If you want to play a sport, quote unquote sport, make it fair, man. I mean, a woman hitting a man, is that fair? You have more muscle, I'm gonna lose. If you take a gun with yourself and call it a sport, is that really a sport? You're a coward, man. It's
not that simple. It's not the animals like, hey, come kill me. It's very difficult.
No, it is. You're taking a life away, cheating because you have a tool. If I put you in a place and go chase the pig and bite into it and make it bleed, choke it, and then eat it. And if you did that, more power to you. Do it. But I don't have respect for people who take a gun from an airplane going,
yeah, I respect it. It's actually more like, that's
exactly.
But
fuck you, asshole, die.
No, I respect that, but I'm just saying, as human beings, we have intelligence, and we're gonna make tools and to make things easier for us, and that doesn't. I don't think that changes the fact. You still be killing the animal,
I'm so sorry to interrupt you. The whole thing, though, it's completely unnecessary to eat animals. It doesn't make sense. You don't need animal meat to survive or flourish. You can actually be healthier. So it's causing disease. It's completely unnecessary to be inhumane, to ruin the environment, and basically for the earth, for the health, and for moral reasons. There's no need to eat animals. So that's where the plant-based movement is saying, look, it's not just this thing. It's also this and this and this other thing. So yeah.
So what a perfect segue then. I mean, it seems like you're saying plants are the answer. How are you with plant medicine? Especially being in the field of...
Absolutely. Good question. I use plants. I use food as medicine all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about.
No.
I'm talking about the sacred plants.
Like the drugs? I'm sorry, I don't know.
Psilocybin. We're talking about mushrooms,
hallucinogenics,
maybe cannabis.
I don't use any of those. I use real food, basically. So when it's manipulated and processed into something that's a hallucinogen, that's a drug. Most drugs are made from plants, actually, but the dosages are manipulated, the structures are manipulated. I don't believe that people should use those. So
you don't believe in CBD?
I don't believe in CBD.
Have you had any experience with it? Do you know much about it?
I don't think we know enough about it to put it into mainstay. Like we don't have enough clinical trials. Again, my opinion is cheap. Once I have enough evidence-based medicine to tell me that CBD oil is good for the health of people, then I'll incorporate it.
Are you open to it?
I'm open to learning every single day. I am here today because 15 years ago, somebody taught me something I didn't know. And today, I'm ready to learn. Tomorrow I'll be ready to learn. But I also have to practice evidence-based medicine. And if there's not enough evidence to back something up.
There's a lot of evidence, though, especially like say on mushrooms and addiction, for example, how like John Hopkins did a study recently where 81% of the cigarette smokers after 3 doses just stopped completely. Or ayahuasca and with heroin. I mean, that's a big thing. And then we have CBD, which I think there's a lot of studies on that too now.
There's
and
a lot.
people consider that
anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, so it's interesting how like you
PTSD.
believe that plants are truly like a miracle. I mean, why should we stop there?
I'm not opposed to my patients. A lot of my patients are using stuff like that. I'm not opposed to it, but I just always like to stay in the realm of my own practice, which is gastroenterology. And in the world of gastroenterology, if you transition into a plant-based diet, you can heal inflammation. I really rarely ever have a reason to say, hey, go look at CBD oil, you know? So I don't have that population that you're talking about, like cigarette smokers or people who are like, I don't know, drug addicts. I really don't have that population.
But you're open to the possibility of it being something as a very strong healing tool? Or is it something about you that might be against it? Do you have a core thing?
I don't have an opinion because I haven't like really read all those studies that you're talking about. My gastroenterology, I stay in the realm of gastroenterology most of the time, and weight loss medicine, and reversing diabetes and heart disease and things like that. And honestly, it has never become an issue where I see my patients are on it. I don't even say anything. Fine, if you want to go ahead and use it, go ahead, but it cannot be all for everything. It's not the one solution to everything. You still have to eat well. You still have to use food as medicine. You can't be damaging your body and then, you know, thinking everything's going to be okay if I just use the CBD oil. Right.
But it's a possibility then, you're saying.
For sure. I mean, especially the CBD oils they're making nowadays. Again, I don't really want to talk about it because it's just not even something that it becomes a daily issue for me in my practice, but it's not a hallucinogen. It's just used for anti-inflammatory reasons.
Bioactive.
Absolutely. So it's not something that's going to be a deal breaker. Like if you're on it, you're not going to be my patient. No, that's not going to be there. Yeah,
it's interesting.
Are you open to trying?
But I'm sorry.
Myself?
Yeah.
I don't know what I would be trying to fix. I have a very robust gut. I don't know why I would try it. You know, I really don't. Like people swear by it.
Well, let me give you just try this now.
You're funny.
Cool. I was just saying that it has a lot of with mushrooms, and a lot of studies been done with mushrooms and CBD about healing not just necessarily the body but the mind with PTSD and trauma and stuff like that, which is like it's pretty amazing. Anxiety.
Absolutely. So, I approach it from the gut perspective, and if you eat a whole food plant-based diet, the feel-good hormones are basically would help as well. And as you know, you teach your patients to eat a whole food plant-based diet. I think there's so much to be said about the power of food and plants and in its raw original form, and that's what I'm all about.
Okay. So about the gut health, is there any way to kind of find out if you have, you know, good gut health without going to the doctor and doing extensive tests like on yourself? Just
yes, absolutely. I mean, think about, you know, for example, do you have gas, bloating, diarrhea, heartburn, nausea, vomiting, abdominal pain? All of those things are indications. Sometimes those indications are super overt, and sometimes they build up over years, and then they become more apparent in your 50s and 60s. So you can never start too early. For example, now the gut microbiome starts building as soon as you're born. As soon as you're going through the vaginal canal, the baby swallows the microbes in the vaginal tract, and they start building the gut microbiome. And so, you know, you have all these autoimmune diseases like diabetes, all these other diseases, leukemias, and all of these things that happen. Who knows? Could it have been because of that one time you ate badly? Yes, it's possible. Could it be because of an imbalance in the gut microbiome? It's certainly possible. We have all these problems. So sometimes, you know, people think, oh, I'm okay, I'm eating badly and I'm getting away with it. Not really. You know, you never know when that critical moment when something is going to happen will be. So it's better to eat healthy and not, you know, just trust your luck.
Okay. And I've read you and other people say that there's all this protein craze.
Oh my God,
about,
right?
Like, you know, having not enough protein.
Let's talk about that. So like with working out and like there seems to be a lot of, and I hope I'm not jumping into your thing, but just because I work out, bro. So like people get fat.
Right.
So
and you said there's no shortage of protein in people's diets, and obviously you have amazing physique. Do you take any extra supplements for protein and stuff? Or you say you don't?
Right? I don't. I think that it actually may contribute to premature aging when you eat too much protein, because you can increase IGF-1, and IGF-1 is linked to aging and things like that. Like glutamine is an amino acid and leucine. So glutamine is associated with cancers, and leucine or isoleucine are associated to aging. I just feel like, the less protein in my diet, the better. I'm an extreme. I go out of my way not to eat a lot of protein. And I never, but again, my opinion is cheap. It doesn't matter. You look at the studies, you can maintain a perfect physique, good musculature, if you ate as little as 0.6 grams per kilogram, not pounds. Most Americans don't understand the difference between kilogram and pounds. Guys, it's kilograms. 0.6 kilograms of body weight per day is enough. So I'm 5'1" and about 115 pounds. So I need only 30 grams of protein. I can get that in my breakfast.
Like, what do you eat? Like,
right now, I'm on my quote-unquote shreds diet, trying to get ripped. But on a daily basis, I lift heavy. I do deadlifting and powerlifting and all kinds of stuff like that. I love going to the gym and working out. I eat oatmeal in the morning and fruits. And for lunch, I would eat some tofu or some tempeh and vegetables, rice, beans. At night, same thing in the realm of like a lot of vegetables, and tempeh is my favorite, and tons of lentils. I love lentils.
All organic.
All organic.
So it's possible to maintain muscle mass on a plant-based diet, do you feel? Or are you saying that do you need all that muscle?
Well,
is that where
it's possible to maintain, but furthermore, it's possible to gain. Not just maintain muscle mass. You can gain muscle mass on a plant-based diet. Yes,
any body type.
Anybody could. I mean, it doesn't really matter where your protein is coming from, whether it's coming from plant or animals. A protein is a big chain of basically linked amino acids, and whether the amino acids are coming from the animal or the plants is the same thing. But over the years, I think we've underestimated how much protein plants actually have. So if you're eating, for example, just think about that one piece of edamame. It has all of the essential amino acids your body will need. So you don't have to eat an animal to get amino acids. Correct. And even if you're an Olympian, I talk to Olympic athletes. I have a lot of friends who are Olympians and ex-Olympians. One of them just won, like in 2012, won the silver medal in cycling. She was vegan, and for 3 years prior to that, and she won an Olympic medal, and she never worried about her protein.
But that's an outlier. So I'm general public,
There are a lot of athletes who are vegan, though. I mean, so many, and the studies show that it actually decreases their it increases their healing time, so they get.
Because of inflammation, probably.
That's right. Because of the lactic acid buildup, but somehow it just recovery time is faster, so they can train harder.
And what about people that say that there may be a lot of carbs in the diet?
Right. We have a culture of carbophobia and proteinoholism.
Erf taught me carbicide.
What's that?
Carbicide, like suicide.
I commit it all the time.
Yeah. So I don't understand that. I love carbs. Like, carbs are a very important component of nutrition. Without carbs, you could not think, you could not function. It's a very, very important macronutrient that your body needs. And so to say that carbs are the evil, it's actually not true. I'd argue fat is. The unhealthy fats. So if there's one macro to discriminate against, perhaps it would be the fats, not the carbs. Having said that, nature has it. So if you eat a plant-based diet, all of the macronutrients kind of fall into their place. Like you get enough fats, you get enough carbs, you get enough protein, where you don't even have to think about it. This whole bodybuilding industry, like they're a little crazy. I'm one. How much protein are you getting, bro? It's like, who cares, dude? It's like, eat your food. Like, do you look at your plate and go, 50 grams of protein and 20 grams of carbs? I hate that. Like, seriously, are you that? I guess if you're a fitness competitor and you're about to step on stage, maybe that matters. But for the general population, I just want to look at my food and go, yum.
What about grain like wheat and barley? And
nothing wrong with that.
Bread,
I think grains are important in cultures where there are people who consume a lot of grains. They're very healthy. Grains are full of fiber. So after legumes, grains are the second basically most important source of fiber. So
okay, so you don't believe in like the grains being bad for you, like wheat and generally, and causing diseases and because of how they break down the body. Okay.
No, there are certain people who are allergic to it. Like, for example, as good as peanuts are, some people get angioedema from it. Like, don't go eat peanuts. You know what I mean? So everybody's different. There are some people with celiac disease and they can't have wheat because of gluten. I think it's important to be sensitive to people's sensitivities and food allergies. Yeah. But you can't say grains are bad just because a few people don't do very well with it. So, yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, with long-term effects, vegan diet, you think generally, like, do we have to be very careful, some people, to get all the nutrients? Because generally, a lot of people probably are lazy. They're not, taking everything they're supposed to be. So there might be some.
Absolutely. If you're a junk food eater, be careful, because if you're eating junk food standard American diet, if you're eating junk food vegan, it doesn't matter. You're not going to get nutrients. If you're eating fried vegan food all day, you're not going to get enough vitamin C. Yeah. Did you know that the average American consumes only 10 to 15 grams of fiber per day? It's a nutrient of concern in this country, says the American Dietetics and all the nutritional organizations in America. But no one cares. But everyone's worried about protein, which there isn't any protein deficient people in this country, pretty much, none. It's not a nutrient of concern, but everyone's worried about their protein. Fiber, on the other hand, is an issue. That's why I'm such a busy gastroenterologist, right? There's a gastroenterologist
not taking the fiber.
Cancer, there's heart disease, there's heartburn, there's not heart disease, there's colon cancer, there's heart disease, there's heartburn, there's inflammatory bowel disease, all of that stuff, constipation. You go out into CVS, have you guys seen how many million constipation medicines there are?
Yeah.
Because people are not getting enough fiber, right?
Yeah.
And conversely,
I'm lactose, so I never.
What is up with that? Why do people take the fiber supplements? Why didn't they just eat fiber?
Oh my God, bingo. That's what I'm saying,
I know someone who does that very closely.
Because it's easier to put a scoop of something.
Eat plants. Like, why do you eat this? Like, I'm gonna have my steak, but don't worry, I'm gonna eat my citrusel. It's like another thing is, if you get the fiber from the bottle, you're not getting the same benefits, because you're not getting the same antioxidant power, the same, because when you eat a whole food, it comes with vitamins and minerals and antioxidants. You're not getting with the bottle of fiber, you're just getting fiber. But the whole thing, if you just eat a plant-based diet, you're getting it all.
Yeah, you get plenty of fiber.
That's
you have
right.
to. You cannot.
That's right. And by the way, not everyone has to be vegan, okay? This is not my purpose here. My purpose to talk to you guys is, want to increase awareness about health, environmental reasons, and ethical reasons. However, if you just transition and make sure that steak is not the major part of your plate, you're still doing a great job. If you're even 97%, 95% plant-based, that's even better than not doing it at all. I'm not asking everyone to go overnight. The point is, though, to improve your health and to be more ethical and a better citizen for the environment, it's better to transition, start incorporating more plants in your diet.
That's right.
Yeah, and I'm here to clear up any doubts that you may be nutritionally deficient. So that's not going to happen, and plus you're going to get the benefits of it.
And we appreciate you doing it, and you do it with, even though you're so firm, but you still do it with love, and I think that's very beautiful. So I appreciate you on a personal level by you just delivering the message so delicately.
Oh, thank you. Coming from you, that means a lot.
Thank you, my love.
So how am I doing as far as my psychology? Good?
I'll talk to you after. I'm kidding. One of the questions, as far as supplements, are there any must supplements that we should take?
Like yogurt?
Yes, very good question. There is so a strict vegan diet or a strict plant-based diet is deficient in B12, so you must take B12 supplements.
B12.
That's the only nutrient that's deficient. And by the way, when you're the thing is that 97% of the B12 in this country is sold to the dairy farm industry.
That's
so
right.
they feed the cow, and then you eat the cow, and then you get the B12 through the cow. So it's better to cut the middleman out and just go straight to the source. In the old days, we used to get B12 from the environment.
What about shots? I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, shots are fine. Shots or pills. Pills are easy. I just pop a pill under my tongue once a day. It's fine.
Okay.
It's not that hard,
So
but
B12.
yeah. So B12
Magnesium?
used to be, you don't need magnesium.
Calcium?
Magnesium is plentiful in green leafy vegetables, and so is calcium. So broccoli is a very rich source of calcium. So a lot of the green vegetables have, so you don't need calcium.
Fish oil?
No, fish oil is definitely in the studies. It doesn't show to be very beneficial, and it's basically, you don't need it. Omega-3s should come from nuts and seeds. And
Calcium?
You don't need calcium either, no. It comes from...
Vitamin D?
Vitamin D, I would recommend that you go in the sun 15 minutes a day, no sunscreen, and just get some sunshine. And if you are low in vitamin D, you should take the pill. But most people, it's just we work in offices like here in this, we're not getting sunshine. So the natural way of getting it is just go in the sun for 15 minutes a day. So yeah.
I feel like the fish oil has been the biggest waste of money for me. I always buy it and never take it in my throat. Because like, how many pills and supplements can you take a day?
So bad. Like when I do colonoscopies on people with fish oil, I'm like, oh, I have to like hold my nose. It's
that's
so
crazy.
bad.
I still take a lot of it.
Because I mean, there's so many. How many pills do you take a day? Two?
No, 2 fish oil.
2 fish oils.
Yeah.
Not total. Like, tell me the stuff you take.
Everything that I asked her.
Why do you take fish oil?
Okay. Like I take. Go ahead. Let me say this. I take like magnesium. I take zinc.
Yeah.
I take what is it? Sometimes I take 5-HTP for sleep.
Yeah.
And then what else? Sorry, anyways, but like I have a few other. I take the vitamin C and I don't like
the zinc and the magnesium is with my calcium. I think they're all together. Yeah,
calcium too. But it's like another 2 pills. Like, you know how many? I can't take like 10 pills a day.
I save so much money over you guys. I don't take because I'm confident my diet is so rich in macronutrients. I don't need to take pills. I don't need to take supplements. Like there are these keto people online that promote their diet and they go, by the way, take magnesium because of course they're deficient in magnesium. Their diets are so bad, deficient in macronutrients. But with a plant-based diet, you know, I mean, you don't need any macronutrients. Exactly.
The whole point of this, you're supposed to take it if you don't have a good diet.
Yeah,
because you're gonna be
right.
Like, you
so
know,
I admit I don't need to take any supplements. And be careful with that fish oil. There's a lot of heavy metals in fish oil. So you can have a toxicity. You don't need it. I can tell you that you don't need it. If I could give you the confidence, thank you. If I can just let you know. And by the way, if you're really worried, go pick up a vegan version of the omega-3, which is healthier. Go to Mother's or Whole Foods or one of those health food places, and you can pick up omega-3s that are healthier than the fish oil. Fish oil is gross. Do you know how many fish they had to squeeze to give you that? Just kidding.
The fish skin and liver and all that juicy.
They wanted it. We have about 6 minutes. Navid, do you have anything?
We have 6 minutes left.
Yes.
Navid, you haven't talked at all. You need to.
Yeah, I mean, when Navid came on, joined us on the show, the first thing he was like, we got to get Dr. Angie on. I was like, what is it? I feel like the only reason he came on the show was because of Dr. Angie.
Well, for several reasons, not only because I believe in what she preaches, right? But I think it's really important, especially for our Persian American or Iranian audiences, who's you know, I was talking to my dad on the way up here. And I asked him the same question when he said, well, you're going to go to Turkey and have the best kebabs. Are you going to eat any? I'm like, no. If I gave you a knife and I put a cow in front of you, would you kill it and eat it? He's like, well, no. I'm like, then why do you still eat it? He's like, well, we grew up that way and this and that. And it's
what if someone says yes to that? Would you guys be okay with it? Just wondering.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm a pescatarian. So I eat fish because...
Do you think that's more humane?
No, I'm an asshole. I just haven't been able to kind of...
And don't feel bad about that. You know, it takes time. I was a vegetarian for 15 years and I knew I have to be vegan. The time just came 4 years ago. Don't feel guilty about it. Everybody has their own time.
I've definitely cut down my sushi consumption, which is my favorite food.
I feel like fish have it the worst out of all animals.
Right.
They pull them out of the water, they choke till they die. And
that's true. That's true. But all you have to do is just... decrease it in your diet slowly. You don't need to do it overnight.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
So anyway, I just wanted to read off a couple questions.
Sure.
Before this show, a good friend of mine called and said you should have Yaya ask her these questions because he believed in the keto diet, but apparently you're off now. Is that true? Were you on keto?
I'm still open to it, but I felt like it's not systemic. I mean,
but you stopped.
I got worried. Yeah.
Okay.
It's effective. He likes it, but not long term, right?
Okay. So a friend of ours who has type 2 diabetes.
Yes.
Fairly young. He's like 37 years old. He had several questions, and so obviously, I guess the keto, and I'm very ignorant of it. I haven't looked into it or whatever, but they talk about the fact that I guess they're proponents of grass-fed beef. And supposedly that's healthier. So he just wrote out this question. He said, many type 2 diabetic patients are reversing their diabetes by getting on a keto grass-fed diet and intermittent fasting. As a result of this regimen, the patient ends up losing weight and becomes more insulin sensitive. This works for overweight people, but what if you're already skinny and have no weight to lose?
So I'm going to take you back. That's a very good question. Thank you for that question, because that's my passion. That's exactly what I live for, to teach people that. So if you think about insulin resistance, which is type 2 diabetes, is insulin resistance, right? The sugar is not getting into the cells because the cells are like resistant to it. Because the reason is that glucose transporter systems are broken in each cell. So imagine each cell, there's a glucose transporter system, grabs the insulin, brings it in. They're broken. Why? Because of saturated fat. It has nothing to do with sugar. So more and more we're looking at these studies that show, wow, saturated fat is the cause of insulin resistance. So skinny or fat, it doesn't matter. If you're eating saturated fat, you're going to disable the glucose transporter systems. Therefore, you're going to develop insulin resistance, and therefore you're going to be diabetic. In the short term, grass-fed cow, non-grass-fed cow, doesn't matter. It has saturated fat. Okay, so that point, forget about it. Let's not even talk about it. But talk about the ketogenic diet. It's full of saturated fat. So the studies showed, there were short-term studies that showed that people dropped their hemoglobin A1C by 1%. These guys were diabetic already. They dropped it by 1%. But that's just for the mere effects of the weight loss.
Or cancer patients too, though.
Well, now let me talk about diabetes. Okay. So when you drop your weight, for your hemoglobin A1C will go about 1%, but that was only 1% advantage. It's not a huge deal. You're still diabetic, and when you finish the diet, you're at risk of worsening your disease. So again, we don't have long-term studies on ketogenic diet. In my opinion, it's a bad idea because you're going to develop insulin resistance, and there are studies that show that a high-fat diet reduces your metabolism. Right? People who eat a whole food plant-based diet have a 16% increase in metabolism. So again, if you go on a ketogenic diet, that's why a lot of people gain a lot of weight back after they stop eating, because it's not sustainable for life, right? You're going to want to eat some plants once in a while and carbs, and then you just basically, you're screwed because it's just not sustainable.
Your body goes on overdrive.
Oh, I mean, it's just it's such a bad idea. And what else we don't know is, what are you doing to the gut microbiome? You're not eating enough fiber. You're eating mostly saturated fat. You're destroying the gut microbiome, right? We don't know the effects of ketogenic diet on the gut microbiome. So when it comes to diabetes, the most intelligent way of reversing diabetes is by eating a whole food plant-based diet and by losing weight. If you're overweight, losing weight helps a lot, obviously, because when you have a lot of weight on you, extra weight, it produces these inflammatory hormones that cause insulin resistance. So by losing fat, you are becoming more insulin sensitive. But you really want to get down deep into it. Eat a whole food plant-based diet, low saturated fat, you can reverse. And that goes for coconut oil too, which is vegan, but you shouldn't be eating coconut oil either.
So he projected that you would say exactly that.
Good.
That, go vegan. So he followed up.
Not vegan, plant-based. Not vegan, but plant-based. Because vegans can be unhealthy too. They can eat saturated fat like coconut oils and things like that.
So he said, he wanted to bring this up. He said, grass-fed beef supports normal blood sugar levels. A recent randomized double-blinded study concluded that 37% of the people who were given CLA?
Yeah, it's for... People take it for working out too. It's supposed to help you burn fat on the belly.
Demonstrated better insulin sensitivity over those who weren't given CLA. Insulin sensitivity helps regulate blood sugar levels. People with low insulin sensitivity will struggle with unstable blood sugar levels and will require larger amounts of insulin either from injections or their pancreas in order to keep blood sugar levels regulated. Aside from increasing your CLA consumption through grass-fed beef, following a keto diet has become a staple for people who are struggling with insulin resistance and keeping blood glucose stable. Utilizing a low-carbohydrate, high-fat keto diet simply eliminates the need for your body to produce excess amounts of insulin in order to regulate blood sugar and maintain steady energy levels throughout the day. Consuming grass-fed beef while following a keto lifestyle can drastically improve blood glucose levels in your if you're insulin resistant. Does any of that make sense?
It's like you break your arm and then you cast it, then bump it again, break it, and then cast it. You're not getting into the etiology, fixing the etiology of insulin resistance, which is saturated fat.
Sure.
So instead of taking compounds and eating stuff that make sure glucose transporters work less efficiently, instead you should clean up the cell. The cells have accumulation of fat in there, and the fat disrupts the glucose transporter system. So instead of trying to fix it. You just basically go to the etiology of what's causing the problem,
right,
and heal it
to the root,
and heal the root cause. That's right. So these diets don't work if they're not healing the root cause. Like I said, the studies have never been that robust. I mean, it shows that it reduces your hemoglobin A1C by 1%. Dude, I want to get off insulin. I want to get off all my medicines. I don't even want to be on medicine. What do you mean take less insulin? Why don't you just shoot me in the head? I'm not gonna do that. I want my disease gone. Goodbye, bye-bye, sayonara.
Sure.
And if you're intelligent, the intelligent approach is to really read up the studies that have shown the etiology of insulin resistance is saturated fat. And then you go, well, what diet has the least amount of saturated fat? The whole food plant-based diet.
Right.
You know, so again, you know, I don't know how to say this, but, oh, by the way, did you know Dr. Atkins, the founder of the Ketogenic Diet, died of heart disease? Okay? Like, if I'm overweight, how could I teach you to lose weight?
Right. It's like having a trainer who weighs 300 pounds. And,
exactly. You know, don't follow if he went, he's probably like mad in his grave right now. He's probably not very happy of what he promoted. It was inadvertent. I don't think he thought carbs cause obesity. He thought carbs were the problem. And unfortunately, what happened to him...
You don't think carbs cause obesity at all? You know,
it's about calories.
Well, I think
it's about calories. Look, of course, yeah, if you drink a bunch of wine, that's going to make you gain weight because it's like 7 calories per gram of alcoholic carbs. So it's about calories, you guys. You know, at the end of the day, a lot of the keto people who lose weight, what are they doing? They're avoiding 50% of what they used to eat, and then suddenly their calories go down, and they think that they're losing weight because they're not eating carbs. It's just the calories went down.
With like bread and stuff, do you like... You watch it, right? You know, like, I mean, you eat everything, but you do watch it. I don't eat any empty
calories.
Okay,
so
great.
Like white bread is empty calorie. Why would it? If it doesn't have any kind of a nutritional...
That's what I meant about wheat and stuff. So, okay, so you do watch...
I'll teach you a rule for the bread, which helps. Take the total carbs divided by the dietary fiber.
Okay.
If it's less, the ratio has to be less than 5. Then eat that bread. If it's higher than 5, that means it's got a lot of refined stuff in there and it doesn't belong in your body. You want a high fiber bread. Like Ezekiel bread is great and Dave's Killer bread. Both follow that rule. So that's not a bad thing, and it's grains and you want to eat some because you want to.
And it's how many too, right? You can't eat like 10 slices of bread every day.
That's right. Like right now on my shreds diet and I'm getting only 1,700 calories. So do I want to eat 400 calories of bread and then not anything else? No. So it's just basically you just have to figure out what do you want to eat, and it should be well balanced because you want to eat beans, legumes, grains, fruits, vegetables, so you can get antioxidants and vitamin B complex and iron and all of that stuff. And you can't get it from bread only. So that's how you have to incorporate multiple. Like think about the food pyramid, the vegan food pyramid. There's fruits and vegetables at the bottom, and then legumes, and then grains, and then nuts and seeds and things like that. You see what I mean? So you want to eat tons of vegetables and fruits.
Beautiful.
Okay, so there are actually questions coming in now. Yaya just sent me one. So this person basically wanted to share their story. She says, so I basically have a stage 4 breast cancer, which has hit my liver and lymph nodes. Halfway through my chemo treatments, my small intestines flares up, which results in Crohn's disease. And as far as Crohn's, the only symptoms I'm having is just pain. I'm really trying my best to see if I can improve or through a diet change, but unfortunately there are certain things that I don't eat already, and with the list of foods that I'm supposed to avoid for Crohn's, it gets to the point where I feel like I should just starve because I can't eat most things. For example, I don't eat meat, but at the same time I can't eat soy or tofu because of my cancer, so I try to get my proteins through lentils. I've tried to go vegan before. I wanted to be healthy, lose weight, and cleanse my body. I found it difficult to maintain this diet. I felt energy indeed. However, I also felt I was gaining weight rather than losing it. I always felt bloated after eating tofu, anything soy or beans. On her
energy, I need maybe. Anyways, two
yeah, maybe. Okay. Right. On her Instagram, Dr. Angie talked about the bloating. That bloating has nothing to do with food. I would like to see or ask her why. I eat dairy or beans and I'm instantly bloated. dairy.
No, I didn't never said that bloating has nothing to do with food. Bloating has everything to do with food because the gut microbiome. So when you breathe air, it goes into your lungs, right? So think about it. Where does all of that gas in your bowels come from?
Right.
It's produced by the gut microbiome. How do they produce air in your gut? By metabolizing the food that you're eating and release gas, so hydrogen gas, CO2 gas, methane gas. That's why there's a bad smell to it. So yes, it comes from the gut microbiome. But in order to reduce maldigestion and dysbiosis and all that bad stuff that's going on, the best to do for her is start eating starchy vegetables like potatoes, because they're not very high in fiber, so they can heal the gut. There's a book by Dr. McDougall. It's called the 80-10-10. You eat 10% fat, 10% protein, 80% carbs, like starchy carbs, and that's very easy to digest. And so for her, what we have to do, she confounded the whole thing by introducing a bunch of different things, like I gained weight, this happened, that happened, and go to the root problem. And whenever you're in doubt, go to the root problem. What is your purpose right now? You need to heal the gut, right? Start from there. Whenever you get confused, you don't know what to do when it comes to nutrition, heal the gut, especially for someone who has cancer, who has inflammatory bowel disease. Right. Go by that 80-10-10 rule that I'm talking about, the Dr. McDougall book, and start eating like that, or by the whole by the Forks Over Knives book, and start healing the gut and slowly introduce the legumes, because they're very difficult to digest for someone.
You have to cook them a lot, right? It's better to cook them for very long hours.
Yeah, and then they're high fiber. If your gut microbiome is not ready for it, you're gonna get very bloated. So someone who has inflammatory bowel disease, they have to heal the gut before they can tolerate those types of foods. So of course, if you're eating dairy, that's like poison, so stop doing that. That's for sure. If you're eating meat, stop doing that. But then when you start eating plant-based, eat a very low fat. I put a lot of my patients into remission from Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis by the whole food plant-based diet, which will in turn help her breast cancer as well, or lymphoma, whatever she has. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so just some random questions.
Actually, can I ask something really? Since you brought up the dairy, I just wanted to say that is kefir bad for you, or?
No, I mean, you can do non dairy kefir, and it's basically gut
what if the dairy version is not good for you?
Well, I mean, it's like drinking soda for potassium. I mean, why would you eat dairy with the probiotics in it when you can have a non-dairy? Dairy is bad for you. Dairy is not healthy, right? So you don't want to eat it, whether it has probiotics added, sprinkled on it or not.
Yeah. No, for me, I mean, it's just like my body's very tolerant. I could eat anything. I don't have problems with anything. But like, I don't drink milk anymore. I just don't. And I used to eat a lot of cheese. I don't really eat cheese anymore. And I like making like shakes with blueberries and coconut and stuff like that at home. And I feel like it's a good base for it, and it has probiotics too. And it's not too, I don't know. So, and that's what I was asking.
You can find non-dairy ones. It's healthier.
Yeah,
but if that's the worst thing you're doing in your life, you're fine.
It's not. It's not. Far from it. But yeah. Okay.
Erfan brought up the whole carbs. I think he pointedly asked you whether it makes you fat or not. Can you talk a little bit about the distinction between? I don't want to take Yaya's seat, but could you please kind of make a distinction between the types of carbs that we have? Because someone could see carbs as 2 plates of white rice or a bunch of pasta.
I love you for asking this question.
Right?
If there's
versus
one question
the
that
carbs that you get from vegetables.
This is what I'm known for. I'm the fiber queen.
Right.
So if there was one single question I wanted asked, it was that. And I'm so glad you brought it up. So people generally, in their mind, basically when they think about carbs, they all generalized all carbs into one category as carbs are bad, and they all think of one thing. They think of sugar. Well, carbohydrates, its carbs are basically one of the 4 major macronutrients, right? Water is one, carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. So, but the thing is that carbs are very essential in that first of all, let me tell you, not all carbs are the same. There are carbs that are high fiber carbs, like fruits, vegetables, grains, and legumes. And then there are refined carbs, or basically refined sugars, like table sugar. Yes,
right?
like processed, where you take the sugar cane, you strip off the fiber, you spin it in these major machines, you juice it, take the juice, bleach the hell out of it, make it powder, then that's table sugar. That has a high glycemic index. In English, it means it seriously spikes your insulin.
Yeah, all the hits at once, right? There's nothing
all at once. And
hence the sugar
calorie.
high.
There's no vitamins in it. It's basically useless nutrition, right? Empty calorie. Don't eat it. Now, there are carbs that are basically that come with eating like legumes, vegetables, and fruits. These types of carbs, they don't have a high glycemic index because they're carried with fiber in your GI tract and slowly get released into your bloodstream, and they give you nutrition, right? They give you vitamins and antioxidants and cancer-fighting antioxidants and all of that stuff. That's why a lot of cancer patients heal themselves with a whole food plant-based diet, because I think the high vitamin C levels and the high antioxidant levels in the whole food plant-based diet. What is that beeping thing?
Hello, everyone. Wanted to thank Dr. Angie again for stopping by our studio. We're very much looking forward to having her on in the very near future. Now, a quick side note. Due to the length of this episode, we ran out of memory space and lost about 10 minutes of the video footage. We decided to keep the audio so that you'd be able to enjoy the full discussion. As always, we wanted to thank you for tuning in and for your continued support. Please be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram at NomadLand Podcast.
So, I mean, if I could teach you one thing today, not you guys, the audience, is when you think about carbohydrates, think of them as fiber-rich, healthy carbs that are giving you nutrients. Don't always focus on table sugar. That's not always, like, that's a carb, yes, but that's not always what you're going to be eating. So don't generalize carbs are bad. It's like saying, you know, Iranians are all good people. No, that's not true. You can't generalize, right? Carbs aren't always bad. So.
Okay. Just random questions. We are genetically engineered to eat meat. This is one interesting.
By who?
Yeah, I
By
mean,
whom?
that's.
Yeah, right. No, I think we're evolved to eat a plant-based diet, because when you look at a gastrointestinal tract of an herbivore, look at our teeth. Like, there's no sharp teeth come canines. And I couldn't bite into a cow and eat it. We have to cook the hell out of the meat. First of all, we would have to be able to hunt it, then chew it raw and not get E. coli, which is impossible. It's just our digestive tract is not evolved or engineered to eat that. And if you look at the fossil records of people, even beyond, prehistoric, like the Neanderthals and all of them, even the Paleogenic era, they eat mostly fiber. And if they were like really stuck where they couldn't get vegetation, then maybe they would be able to, like, they would eat a hunt. But that was not their primary source of nutrition. That was like the fallback mechanism. So I think we're evolved to eat, if you look at our gastrointestinal, it's very long and tortuous, kind of like a horse's. We don't have a GI tract that's designed like or evolved like a lion's. So
it's interesting you say that. I actually read about this, and there's so many arguments that come and they wait for vegans or vegetarians to sort of debunk those. One of them was this, you know, we're engineered to eat meat, and they talk about the fact that we're the closest to the chimpanzee with 98% DNA. Yet the chimpanzee rarely eats meat. They have it as part of their diet, but it's a very random thing. Very random. But the other thing was that actually that's the one thing about the chimpanzees. But it's funny because when they try to argue this, they'll bring something like, well, we've always been hunters, or we're supposed to eat meat, look at animals. But we don't talk about, I don't know, the male geese rape the female goose, right? But humans aren't supposed to go rape, gang rape people. So it's interesting that we pick and choose, the comparisons that we want to draw from.
Yeah, and it's funny, animals, I mean, bodies are different. As gorillas, they eat just leaves.
Yes.
You know, and they're just massive.
Yeah,
Massive
yeah,
muscles.
yeah.
It's just like, so bodies are different too, the way we process.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
sure.
think I don't think we can compare ourselves to the gorillas, because somehow horses and gorillas have the ability to
yeah.
get all of the amino acids from just leaves.
It's amazing.
I think for humans, we do need to eat a variety of, like, we need to eat peas, we need to eat legumes, we need to eat vegetables, because all of the essential amino acids are not all just in one group, except
Right.
soybeans. They have all of the essential amino acids, but I'm assuming not everyone's going to eat tofu all day. So you should get a variety of foods, because that's how humans they get the amino acids. So I think it's important for people to know that they need to add a variety of foods.
Awesome.
So actually, I have a question, a theory that's, because I watch a lot of different experts talk about different stuff, and they'll have claims. So something that kind of I see correlation between all of them is, with the diets kind of more limited. I don't know if that's the right way to put it, but if you eat everything together, it seems to be the worst diet. You know what I mean? Like, you eat a lot of fat, a lot of meat, a lot of carbs, a lot of, you know, but people like take a lot of stuff out of their diet, they all seem to get the positive results, whether it's, you know, on the, you know, seems to be for the carnivore, and also on the vegan side and on the ketogenic, because you limit a lot of things out of your food, and then you get, you know, at least short-term results out of that somehow. Does that make sense at all, or no?
I'm not sure I completely understand, but I think if you clean up your diet, right? Cleaning up your diet, meaning, first of all, eating less calories. There's studies from Harvard that show a lower calorie diet helps extend your life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a bodybuilder. I can't eat a very low calorie diet, and so I guess I go on low calorie diets, but you can't do that every day. But I eat clean.
Mm-hmm.
But in my definition of eating clean and cleaning out my diet is avoiding processed sugars and processed foods and fat. Get the fat out of your diet, because you want to alkalinize your gut. So I think in a way you're right, if I'm understanding this correctly.
Basically limited. Like, there's some people that say, like, I only like chicken and broccoli and such, and they're like, good was like, it's nutritious food, you know. But if you can, let's say, even that's on the vegetarian side, you get the same nutrition from lentils and beans and this and this and this. If they just limit it and eat, like, just eat one type of legume, and maybe, you know,
Well, I actually think the opposite may be better, because you can't get nutrients from just not enough. You can't get all the nutrients you need from chicken and broccoli. You may get away with it in the short term, but in the long term, you're going to be nutritionally deficient in vitamins and minerals.
No, I just said those two things, but I'm saying, like, get the things that give you all the nutrients that you need, but like with less items on your instead of just having so many different. I mean,
kind of like have a clean plate.
Dr. Angie, we have to wrap it up soon, but a couple of suggestions or recommendations you may have for people that are watching that may be interested in at least giving, you know, a vegetarian or a pescatarian or a vegan lifestyle a try. Anyone you want to recommend, suggest, books?
Yes.
Sites.
Oh my gosh, so many. Okay, so watch Forks Over Nice on Netflix.
That's what made me give up meat.
Yes. Watch The Health is another good one. Read Cowspiracy is a good one. Read How Not to Die by Dr. Michael Greger. He has a cookbook that's also excellent. But the very, very best one, guys, is coming out soon by Dr. Angie Sadeghi.
Nice. When is that coming out?
See that.
I'm shooting for this year, end of this year. My book is going to come out, and it's going to be the trifecta of health and rejuvenation, which encompasses a healthy diet, a whole food, plant-based diet, fitness, and hormone optimization for people who are older and have lack of hormones.
Awesome. So we'll have you back.
Oh,
when
definitely.
that book comes
I
out.
had too
Awesome.
much fun today
Awesome.
to not come back.
Because there's so much on this subject that we could never get enough. You know? So we
Yeah.
can come back and talk more and more about the different
So
sides
can you
of
rap about it?
You want to do a little vegan rap?
Can we do it? Can we do a little vegan rap today, please?
I'll work on it.
He'll work
Once
on
I
it.
become like a actual practicing, then I could practice what I preach. Or the other way around, actually. Preach what I
Awesome.
practice.
Any other questions?
No other questions. I want to thank you, Dr. Angie, to be here and kind of shed your light on this subject. And I think for the listeners, it's very important that, everybody's body is different. So do research, learn about it. It's really important. It's the most important thing that you can do. What was it? Someone saying that I can't afford to eat a certain lifestyle. And they said that, you can't afford not to, because
Absolutely.
Right.
it's very important. So do your research. People's bodies are different. People respond differently. And,
Thank
that's
you,
all.
guys.
Awesome. Thank you for having. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Nomad out.